Today, independent bookshops, The Star Outside My Window by Onjali Q, Rauf, and Make Your Own Bookmark. This week is Independent Bookshop Week, and if you're wondering what independent bookshop means as opposed to just a bookshop, well, an independent bookshop is one that's not part of a chain, one that you won't find on many high streets. It's unique because it's run usually by someone local. Basically, what's brilliant about your independent bookshop is that you can get to know the owner. Now, I often think that books are often just rectangles on shelves. Unless you have someone to tell you what's what, it's hard to know which book is the book for you. And often if people don't find the book for them, they may not get enthused about reading or become an avid reader. And what's really good about local bookshops and independent bookshops is that people can guide you to the books that are just right for you. So when did bookshops first come about? Well, the selling of books dates back to long ago, and in 300 BC, when the founding of libraries came about. And this led to an increase in Athenian booksellers. So booksellers from Athens. So we're talking about in ancient Greece. And then in Rome, it became very, very popular to have a library. And that was towards the end of the Republic. It became fashionable, like a piece of household furniture. So Roman booksellers had a flourishing trade going on. Their shops, taberna liberi, which were some of the earliest bookshops essentially, did a flourishing trade. There would be signposts at the side of the door with the list of the books on sale. And a book would set you back about 5 denarii. In Emperor Augustus's reign, a law was passed so that writers could claim ownership to their material, which was a very early form of copyright law. So books were really becoming popular. The spread of Christianity also created demand for the Gospels, which led to an increase in the book trade. In the Muslim world too, caliphates in the east and west encouraged book selling. Scholars spent many hours in bookshops reading and poring over all of the different texts. And that's the great thing about bookshops. They're kind of like a lovely oasis of calm and books and knowledge where you can read and browse and search the book that's right for you. The modern system of bookselling dates from the 16th and 17th centuries, from soon after the introduction of printing. Religious dissent and the Reformation caused a great demand for books under Henry VIII and also Edward VI. But neither the Tudors nor the Stuarts wanted a free press, and they did all they could to try and curb it. By 1658, bookselling had increased so much that a catalogue of the most vendable books in England was published. The Great Fire of London caused a bit of a setback though, because at the time the centre of trade was St Paul's Churchyard, and the booksellers put most of their stock in the vaults of the church, where it got destroyed. But the man credited with revolutionising the British book trade was James Lackington. James was one of 11 children and became the apprentice to a cobbler, but he recognised the value of books from very, very early on. He and his friends would source markets for cheap editions of plays, poetry and classical literature, and teach themselves to read and expand their understanding of the world. He got married and moved to London, and in 1774 was able to rent a shop where he began selling both shoes and books together. 18th century London was a place of great social change, and the increase in leisure time meant that the demand for books also went up. But they were still a bit of a luxury, and bookshops could be intimidating places. But his bookshop changed everything because he wanted to find a way to make books more affordable. So he set about revolutionising the book trade in 4 ways. Number 1, his business was cash only, so he could avoid taking out costly loans, and customers that couldn't pay their debts were not a problem. 2, he made sure that instead of bartering, all the books were priced at the lowest he was willing to accept. And so people thought that they were getting a good deal. The third thing he did was to do with remainder books. It used to be the case that loads of them were burnt in order to drive up the price, but he began to buy them up and sell them at a low price to keep the books in circulation, and so that he could turn over a profit by selling lots of books. Lastly, his bookshop was able to become a huge bookshop that people could lounge in. Upstairs there were areas where you could just sit and read. There were 4 floors in total, and his shop, the Temple of the Muses, became a tourist attraction, boasting to be the cheapest bookshop in the world. People would spend hours reading for free, and James became something of a celebrity, hoisting a flag above the shop to show when he was in. There are over 800 independent bookshops in the UK today, and they need your support, especially in times of coronavirus. Reading is a brilliant thing to do when you're at home. indiebookshopweek.org.uk can show you where your local independent bookshop is. They're not all open at the moment, but loads are doing online orders, so you can order a book no matter where you are in the country. And if they are open, then go in socially distanced and have a look for something that can be brilliant lockdown reading, and I'm sure there'll be someone friendly on hand to help you find a brilliant book for you. While I was promoting my book Cookie and the Most Annoying Boy in the World, I went to some of the most gorgeous independent bookshops. They're all totally unique and lovely environments and places to be in. So make sure you support them, because it's so easy with all the high street chains and out of town shopping complexes and retail parks to forget the brilliant things right on your doorstep. Today's book is shortlisted for the Independent Bookshop Week Award for Children's Book of 2020. It's brilliant. The Star Outside My Window by Onjali Q. Rauf. Chapter 1. A Map to the Stars. I've always wanted to be a star hunter. Everyone calls them astronomers, but I think star hunter sounds much better. So that's what I'm going to call myself. But I'm not going to be the kind of star hunter that looks for old stars. I want to find the brand new ones, the ones that have only just been born and are searching for the people they've left behind. I read in a library book once that stars can burn for millions and billions and even trillions of years. I hope that's true, because there's one star I don't ever want to stop burning. I don't know where it is yet, but I know it's out there, waiting for me to find it. Back in my real house, where I lived with Mum and Dad, I had 3 whole shelves of books in my bedroom, and at least half of them were all about stars and space travel. The walls and ceiling were covered in posters and glow-in-the-dark stars that I'd begged Mum and Dad to get me. But the best thing in my room was my special star globe, which sat right next to my bed. From far away, it looked like a globe of the world, but it wasn't. It was a globe of the night sky. And instead of countries and oceans, it lit up with all the different star constellations you could ever think of. There was a different constellation every time you switched it on, and I knew them all off by heart. That's why new stars will be easy for me to spot when I'm a star hunter. If you know a picture off by heart, it's easy to tell when something about it is different. I wish Mum hadn't forgotten to pack the star globe. I miss it so much sometimes that I wonder if I'll ever stop missing it. I miss it even more now that Noah and me have had to move to the strange new place we're living in right now. We've been here for 2 days, and even though the house is much nicer than the last one we had to hide in with Mum, I'm not sure I like it here. It's full of creepy noises, like floorboards creaking when there's no one there, invisible things tapping on the window at night as if they're trying to get in, and tiny squeaks and scratchings coming from behind the walls. My little brother Noah thinks the house is haunted. He gets so scared at bedtime that I have to make him lie down with his head under the covers, and I squeeze him tight until he falls asleep. Noah's only 5. It's okay for a 5-year-old to be scared of ghosts, but it's silly for a 10-year-old to believe in them, so I won't, no matter how much the noises make me want to hide under the covers with him. But it's not just the noises that make this house feel strange. It's the people in it too. There's a boy called Travis who doesn't speak. He's 11, tall and skinny, and looks like an elastic band that's been stretched too far. His teeth stick out from under his lips because of the big silver braces on them. His mouth looks like a builder has tried to squeeze lots of bits of metal scaffolding inside and didn't know when to stop. Most of the time, he just stares at me with his huge grey-brown eyes that stick out like ping-pong balls. I don't like people staring at me. My cheeks turn bright red and it makes me feel like running away. But he keeps doing it, even when I stare back at him. Then there's Ben, who has huge fluffy black hair that looks like it's been put on his head by a giant ice cream scoop. He's 10 years old like me with bright brown eyes that look like they're asking you a million questions and a shiny round pimple on his left cheek that he keeps poking when he thinks no one is looking. He always wears a Newcastle United hooded jumper that's too big for him the wrong way round and eats popcorn and crisps from inside the hood as if it's a bowl. Ben says strange things and asks me lots of questions, as if he's a detective on a TV show and I'm a criminal. Questions like, "Hey, why are you here?" And "Do you guys need to get adopted too?" And "Holy big fat goalie, Anaya, don't you like fish fingers? Can I have them instead?" I hate being asked questions almost as much as I hate being stared at, especially when I don't know the answers and my voice isn't working. So whenever he asks me anything, I just look at the floor and shrug. Finally, there's Sophie. Sophie's 13, which makes her the oldest out of us all, but she's still shorter than Travis. Sophie has long, straight, bright red hair and exactly 27 brown freckles across her nose. I counted them as soon as I met her because I like freckles. I think freckles and stars look nearly the same, all tiny and fiery, and it's fun to see what shapes you can make out of them. I wish I had freckles, but I don't, not even a single one. If Sophie and me were friends, I'd tell her that freckles make the shape of a blue whale or a ship with 3 sails, depending on which way you connected them. But Sophie doesn't like me or Noah, so I don't think I'm ever going to be able to tell her that. I know she doesn't like us because whenever Mrs. Iwuchikwa isn't looking, she gives us lots of "I hate you" stares and narrows her eyes and grits her teeth. Getting one always makes my hands and feet go ice cold. Mrs. Iwuchikwa is the woman who owns the house we're all living in and is one of the strangest grown-ups I've ever met. She wears lots and lots of necklaces and beads and bracelets so that whenever she moves, she makes clunking noises like marbles moving inside a bag. She also smiles so much that I think her cheeks must hurt all the time. I've never seen anyone smile as much as she does. Most of the time I have to look around to see what she's smiling at, because usually you need a reason to smile, but Mrs. Iwuchikwa doesn't. When I first met her, I thought she was Ben's mum because they have the same kind of hair, all big and bouncy, and the exact same colour skin. She has bright pink, shiny lips and wears lots of glitter around her dark brown eyes, and her accent makes her sound as if she's half singing and half telling you off. I don't know if me and Noah like Mrs. Iwuchikwa yet, but we have to try, and we have to try to make her like us too, because she's the only one that can keep us together now that everyone else has disappeared. That's what a foster mum does. They keep kids like me and Noah together when their mums and dads have disappeared. I never knew what a foster mum was until 2 nights ago. I had a real mum until then, so I guess I never needed to know. But when Mum left, a tall woman in a black suit and 2 policemen came and said we had to go to a foster home so that we could meet our new foster mum. I didn't like the sound of a foster anything. They sound like pretend things. Things that try to make you believe they're yours when they're not. Noah didn't like the sound of them either and began to cry and scream and hiccup straight away. Noah only ever hiccups or cries when he gets really scared. Mum said it was my lifelong job to look after him. So when he started crying and hiccuping in front of the policemen and the woman in the suit, I tried to tell him with my eyes not to be scared because I was there to protect him. But I don't think he saw my eye words because he cried and hiccuped the whole time we were sitting in the back of the police car. and then all through the night too. I wish I could have said nice things to him with my real words instead of just invisible ones, but my voice vanished when I heard Mum leaving us. And it still hasn't come back yet. I think it will come back, just as soon as I find out where Mum is, for sure. That's why I can't wait until I'm a grown-up to become a star hunter. I have to become one right away, so I can find out which part of the sky Mum is in now. Every star in the sky has a name and a story, and extra super special stars become part of a constellation and part of an even bigger story. I know because Mum explained the truth about stars to me properly after we watched The Lion King together. The Lion King is my most favourite cartoon film of all time. Mum let me and Noah watch it whenever Dad came home from work and needed to move furniture around the house. Mum would wink and lock the door, and pointing the remote control at the telly, say, "Let's drown out the world, shall we?" Sometimes Dad would bang on the door and call for her and she would have to leave us alone, but we didn't mind watching it on our own. Noah loved Pumbaa and Timon the best and always giggled and danced when they came on. But my most favourite bit is when Simba's dad tells him that all great lion kings of the past are looking down from the stars above and that because of them, he doesn't ever have to feel alone. When I heard Simba's dad say that for the very first time, I asked Mum if it was only kings that could become stars. It didn't seem fair that queens couldn't become stars too. And what happened if you didn't know anyone who was a king or a queen in the first place? Did you have to be left all alone? Mum had frowned and looked down at me with her chocolatey brown eyes. Then after thinking about my question for a bit, she said that of course queens became stars too. And not only that, but ordinary people who had extra bright hearts sometimes went on to become the biggest stars in the sky, even bigger than the stars of kings and queens. So everyone was bound to know at least one of the stars looking down on them. I'm glad she told me that, because if she hadn't, I wouldn't ever have known what the noise meant. When I heard Mum leave us to go and turn into a star. As soon as Noah falls asleep and his arms go floppy enough to let go of me, I'm going to make a map of all the stars I can see from our window. I'll work on it every night till I've found all the newest stars in the sky. I've got to try and find the brightest, newest star there is, because that one will be Mum's. I'll know it's hers when I see it, because Mum had the biggest, brightest heart out of anyone I ever knew. And people with the biggest, brightest hearts never end up in the ground. They end up in the sky. I'm already hooked. Don't know about you. What an amazing book. Now, you might have noticed in your local independent bookshop, often they have bookmarks or stickers or badges or even bunting to go with different books. And I thought it might be fun if we had a go at making a personalised bookmark for your favourite book. I'm going to make one for the star outside my window. Now it's really easy. All you need to do is get a piece of card, a ruler, some scissors, string or wool, hole punch, and any other bits and pieces you might use to decorate your bookmark with. Now, my cardboard is just from a flyer that came through the letterbox. You could use some card off a cereal packet or off any other packaging you have. And a good way to make sure that you get a really straight rectangle is to line a ruler up with the edge of your card, because you know that's already cut straight, and then rule on along the other side, and then that will be a perfect rectangle. Now if you have cut off a cereal packet, obviously you'll just need to rule along both sides and then you'll know, or even rule around all four sides of your ruler, and then you know you've got a perfect rectangle, and then cut it out. Right, so once you've cut it out, you need to get your hole punch and then punch a hole in the centre of the bottom edge of your card, like that. Now, because I don't want the advertising from the back of the leaflet or flyer on my bookmark, I've cut an identical strip out and I'm going to glue them together with glue stick, and it will also make my bookmark a bit stronger. So now I'm ready to decorate my bookmark, and in doing that you could copy the font of the writing on the front. That means the style of writing on the front, and write on your bookmark, or you could choose a character from the cover of the book and put them on it, or just copy the style. This is a navy blue with lots of white stars, so maybe I could put that on my bookmark and write my bookmark. The colours are orange, navy blue and black, so those are the themes and ideas that I'm going to take in to decorate my bookmark. So I have finished my bookmark, and as you can see, this character, I've put him at the bottom, and then I tried to copy it's the wrong way around, the font, and I've written the bookmark inside my book, like the star outside my window. Now the finishing touch is to get a piece of string, thread it into the loop like that, and then pull it, and then if you knot it off, cut the excess and fray the ends, and you've got a tassel and one cool bookmark. That's it for today. Support your local independent bookshop. Please subscribe and spread the word. Bye.